Hi, welcome to Dad Talk Network. Again, my name is Train. Today we'll be talking about topic number 2 of my 4-part conversation. Please, if you're new to the channel, like or subscribe or leave a comment. Okay, the next topic we're going to talk about is proud moments and what it means to be a dad, to have be a testament or witness your kids' proud moments. And then for me, I'll start, right? For me, there were several proud moments, right? When they were kids, right? Them learning how to walk. You were like, okay, fine, I don't have to carry them. And then proud moments of them going into school. And then I think one of the proud moments too is like graduating high school. So when all the kids graduate from high school, it breaks a part of you, right? So when the first one graduates, it's like, okay, I have 3, like I've said. It was like, okay, I still have 2 that I can still nurture.
Right.
And then when the last one, and my daughter was the last one to graduate, that one kind of hit me home the most, because it was like, okay, now I'm entering into a new space of fatherhood, because I have no longer any, grade school kids.
Right.
And from your perspective, what does that feel like to you as once your kids finished high school and your last one finished high school?
Well, I can say that I feel exactly what you're feeling when you say coming from a baby to walking to going to school and graduating from high school. You had 3, I have 4. Uh-huh. So, it was a longer journey for me. And that proud moment, yes, to see your kids from knowing when they were toddlers and you holding them in your arms, and then now they're going into an adulthood and you're seeing that, and now you're remembering back when you were in that stage of your life and saying, wow, I thought I would not be able to do this, but by the grace of God, He allowed you and helped you along the way. Mm-hmm. The parenting, seeing them coming, not only going to high school, graduating from high school, but going to college, mm-hmm. Which is some things that I could not do, because at the time I was a younger father, mm-hmm. and I didn't know anything else but to work and try to provide for my family. And then when I did go to college, it was only for a short period of time, because mm-hmm. Life happens and those things happen. But yes, not only that, but seeing them go to college and then graduating mm-hmm. was a very proud moment for me, because I wanted them to have and be better than what I've been in my life, and get more out of life.
Correct. And I can attest to that too. And if I piggyback on that as well, I think if you've been watching the show, my oldest son, TJ, we sat down, we talked, and he talked about some of his success as being a father. And then I talked about my middle son, Terrell, going to medical school. And then my daughter's currently in college. So there are pivotal moments as parents. We sit back and we reflect and say, okay, I remember when they were small, couldn't even, and we had these big dreams for them, right? We always have big dreams for our kids. And we never know the journey, right? Because sometimes people say, well, how does success look, right? If we always wish that we could just turn the page and say, okay, this is what it looks like, fast forward, life looks like this. But I think sometimes if you knew the journey that you had to take, you probably wouldn't want to take that journey.
Yes.
So sometimes it's good to say, okay, we look at life, we celebrate the successes with things, and celebrate it with our kids, right? Letting them know how proud we are of them in that moment, and letting them know that they've made these major milestones. So as dads, we need to champion them, so that they know that we're proud of them, and that their milestones or their achievements is an achievement of us as well.
Yes, and I could say to that point, it even makes you more proud of them when you can see some of the nuggets that you have dropped in their life mm-hmm. take place. The way they go about business and how they carry themselves, and being very mature, and even in their conversations, you could see yourself in them, not because it's a girl or it's a boy, but you can see your traits and all the life lessons that you've taught them and help, and sometimes they taught you as well. As parents, we all can still learn things, and today we're still learning, and I believe that parenting never stops.
Correct.
Whether they're 15 to they're 30 years old, we're always going to be parents until the day the good Lord put us in the ground.
Exactly. And if I may tell a story and an experience, it's like, right, it's sometimes we get our kids, we meet our kids' friends' parents, right, at different events or maybe at a barbecue or a party we throw, and our kids' parents come. And they'll come up to you and say, hey, your son or daughter, oh, you raised a great kid or whatever. But you understand the trials and the tribulations that they put you through. And you say, well, is this the same one? So the one thing I learned is that it's, as a parent, it's not what they do in front of you, but it's what they do in your absence. Yes. When no one else, when I can't see what they're doing and how they're engaging and whether they're kind-hearted. They have a love for different things, music or whatever. And when it shows up in someone else's house, and then someone can come back and say, hey, your kid was this and you have a great child, that resonates with you. So I think we have to make sure that, sometimes our kids, they raise our blood pressure from time to time. But I think so, but when you make good investments in your kids, when the cameras are off and no one's watching and they're out there representing you in an environment where other people can put them in or judging them, and they show up in their best light. So I think that's a proud moment as well.
Yes, and indeed, you're absolutely right. It makes you feel good when you hear those positive comments, and as you said, even myself, when you hear that your son or your daughter is so polite and so mild mannered, and their work ethic is outstanding, and they see the dad and the mom, and that's what they go for, and they gear up on that energy. That positive energy is always good, and it's, again, we as parents we fail at some point, being parents, but we learn from our failures to try to make ourselves better for our kids, and that way we'll get it right the next time.
Mm-hmm. Well done. So if you have more than one child, you have to understand that each child is going to require a different way of interacting with you at certain ages. So I think when kids are small, right? So we have maybe one or two kids or three kids or four kids in some situations. When they're small, we can kind of parent them with one approach, right? Because they're all of them are going to need these basic needs. But then as they get a little bit older into adolescence, their teen years, and then into adulthood, we have to understand that those needs are going to have to be individually tailored to have effective relationships. So the way I talk to for me, I have three. So the way I engage with my oldest son is definitely different than how I engage with my middle son and with my daughter, because they have their own different personalities. So there are some commonalities in parenting, but there's different approaches that I take, where one kid I might be more analytical with, and another one I might be more lighthearted with. So really trying to understand that you can't take a one-size-fit-all approach to parenting, and that you got to get down to the individual personalities of each of your children, so they get the best experience that you can as a father. Would you like to add something to that as well?
Well, let me just start here.
Okay.
I've grew up in a family of 8, and my mom was the single parent. So can you imagine a single parent raising 4 boys and 4 girls? Mm-hmm. That in itself, when I think about it, had to be so difficult. But I'm half of that. I'm 4. and there's two parents in the home at this point in present, I think my approach to meeting their needs would probably be from their maturity, how I see them materialize, and my approach of having conversations with them, or doing things with them together as a father, a daughter, and a father and a son. There will come a point to where yes, they're gonna need a different need because they have different personalities. Every child is not the same. You can, as I can say, a father seems to be more lightly on his daughter than they are with their sons. I'm guilty of that. But again, still trying to keep a firm foundation of being a parent to address them as whether they're adult, from the child to an adult right now. That is the essence of trying to be able to build that relationship with them.
Okay, and I think that's good. And I think sometimes and when you come from a large family, right? I come from a large family as well. I'm one of seven, and amongst the kids, right? They always say, well, oh, this one was mom's favorite. This one was dad's favorite, right? We as parents, we don't try to demonstrate that we have any favorites or display that we have any favorites. But sometime when you have multiple kids, they like, okay, I know you're always the favorite, or you're the favorite, or whatever. Yeah. But I think what happens is when we talk about coming to your kid and having that relationship that's uniquely specific to the relationship that you have between them, right? Building this unique bond. So there is no feeling of, okay, you're the special one or whatever. Or sometimes, just to put a little laughter on it, we always we tell them when no one else is watching, you're the favorite, right? So we may start some of that. But no, in all honesty, I think it's really connecting and taking interest into your children's, your different children's thing, right? If someone's heavy into science, it might not be a strong suit for you, but try to engage in that because they might come to you. So you got to kind of live in the moment and interact to your kids and find what makes them tick. So this way they have the best experience, because what happens is that we talk about making deposits, right? We make deposits into our kids' lives every day. And some of us may be aware of it, some of us may not be aware of it. So you always got to think that, how I show up in front of my kids is how they're going to show up, or how it's going to impact them down the road. Because I think we all notice, right? We might say there's certain things that my dad used to say that I say to my kids, right? Yeah. So we all take parts and they show up at different times. But we want to make sure that we're taking the best parts of ourselves and making those of the deposits into our kids' reality, our kids' psyche, so they know that, hey, look, my dad really loves me. He's interested in what I want to do. And sometimes you got to. And I remember as a young father, I used to, I would work all day, then come home, dealing with what I did at work, and then come home and exhausted. And then your kids don't know, right? They're small. Yes. They're like, okay, you just got home and, Daddy, can we do this? Daddy, can we do that? So I think sometimes as parents, we got to muster up the strength and say, okay, let me find what I need to make sure I'm satisfying my kids' needs, because they don't know how your day was. All they know is that you're present now, and then you have to make the most of when you're present now.
Yes. I'm gonna say this on a different note. When it comes down to dealing with your children and knowing their different mentalities, their different thoughts, my thing is to find out what are their interests in. What do they like? What do they want to do in life? And my thing is, I always tell them to not only do what you like, but do what you're going to be passionate with. Same thing goes for when you're raising a family and everybody don't like to eat the same food. So you have to find out what each individual like and what they don't like, and try to get a good mixture of that, as you say, the wife cooks, she's gonna cook this for us, or you step up and you help out and bring that food to the table. But it's just like trying to get a good mixture of everything that everybody likes. Not only individual, and yes, there's gonna be some like myself. Grew up in a family of 8. There were certain things I didn't like, and when my mother cooked it, I didn't like it. I didn't want to eat it, so she would go about and make something else for me that I could eat. So those are the type of things that we have to be able to see ahead of time, that we can kind of block those things off to where it doesn't become a problem.
And you raised a good point, or you just got something going on in my mind. There's something I used to tell my kids is that I inspect what I expect. So sometimes we used to say, well, go upstairs and clean your room, and then your kids say, I cleaned the room, and then you come down and say, okay, I go up there and it's not. So sometimes we have to lead by example, or show, or demonstrate. So we tell a kid that, hey, I want you to cut the grass or do a particular chore. We have to show them what that chore looks like, or show them what the process. Because if we just go tell them to do it and they have no reference point, then it's not going to be done to our standard. So always inspect what you expect, and this way, and show them what is right in that particular task. And I think I remember my kids. I was with my lawn. I used to tell my kids, I showed them how to cut the grass, and that was part of their chores. But I was one of those dads that I had to have the vertical and the horizontal lines, right? So I had bought 2 lawnmowers, and as I showed them how to cut the grass, one would go vertical, one would go horizontal. So, but we always had a nice looking lawn, and that was something my kids could be proud of. So always inspect what you expect, and you also have to take the time out to teach them that particular task. So just don't assume them and say, okay, I want you to do the dishes. What does doing the dishes entail? Or if you say, well, I want you to take out the trash, what does that look like? We have to set the example for our kids, and we have to show them how to do the correct thing, because just by us telling them to do it doesn't mean that it's going to end in the results that we're looking for.
Correct, and I could piggyback off of that as well. You're cutting the grass, or you're painting, or you're doing something, and a lot of times we make things look easy, but they don't have that knowledge because they haven't had the opportunity to be involved in that. And again, these are the things that we show them. We bring them out them. This is how I cut the grass. I go this way or I go that way with it, and then allow them to be able to command that post of using that lawnmower. And then they'll get the feel and say, and I've seen the faces like, oh, this is not as easy as it looks. They make it look easy. So they get the opportunity to be able to be involved in things and see, well, dad does this, or mom does this, and it's not as easy as they make it look. So every day that's a process for them thinking, okay, now I have to learn how to do this, because there's going to be some day that I'm going to have to do this for myself.
Correct. And I think I think that's like in general, right? They say 21 days of something creates a habit. And I just want to talk about this situation. So the other day I had to go to the dentist, and I told my kids, okay, we're going to still go to the gym. So we go to the gym Sunday through Thursday. And so I had to go to the dentist on Wednesday, and I'm like, okay, we'll go to the gym when I get back from the dentist. So my son and daughter, who I normally go to the gym with, I'm in the dentist chair, and my wife FaceTime me. She says, well, the kids already went to the gym. I'm like, so they're going to the gym without me. So the lesson is that when you show consistency, yes, whether your kids are, 6-year-old or they're 19, 20, or what have you, when you show a level of consistency and pattern, sometimes it doesn't even take your presence or your engagement in that process for the desired results to happen. So So it's like, okay. So sometimes I'm like, okay, am I the catalyst that's making them go to the gym? You know what I mean? So sometimes you're like, okay. So now I'm like, okay, I'm really not the catalyst. We've kind of built this thing in, and like I'm talking about, we're trying to get real healthy and everything. So it's good to say that, when you start to build good behaviors and good patterns, you don't always have to. At first, you might be the catalyst, but your kids will pick up and say, okay, I'm doing this because this is what we do at this time, regardless if dad can be there.
Yeah.
So needs to say is I had to work out on my own on that day.
I think one of my closing comments is, as we speak about children, and we speak about male and female, sometimes we shy away from showing the daughter things that we show our son, and not realize that that could be a impact, a negative impact on her, not knowing things and how to do things. So myself, I show both. I'll show my son how to do it, and I'll show my daughter how to do something. So this way, when it comes time to doing things, they have that knowledge of what it takes and how it's supposed to be done. And then that way, as they say, we need to come together to do this, and they'll be able to chime in and help out. And I think that's a positive thing for both male and female children in a family.
Awesome.
Thank you for watching. Part 3 of our 4-part conversation will be coming soon.